Los Angeles, I'm and most Hollywood nights. She goes to California, oh, California.
What you say about Los Angeles?
LA got the people saying,
Los Angeles.
You're listening to Corner of the Galaxy on cornerofthegalaxy.com. It's time for another episode of Corner of the Galaxy from the Box, the show that gets you behind the scenes of the LA Galaxy and into the minds of soccer reporters and MLS experts. Your hosts for the day are Corner of the Galaxy's Josh Guesman and LA Times soccer reporter Kevin Baxter. Let's start the show.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Corner of the Galaxy from the Box on cornerofthegalaxy.com. I'm your host, Josh Guesman, coming to you on Monday, May 26th. LA Galaxy 2-1 losers at the death there in San Diego, finding new ways to lose, new ways to disappoint fans everywhere. What could have been another turning point, what could have been a good battle point on the road, turned into absolute destruction, not only on the field, in the stands afterwards. And the LA Galaxy now have to turn it around very quickly as San Jose comes in and then Real Salt Lake at the end of the week. So a 3-game week. What can the LA Galaxy accomplish through all this? We're going to talk about the San Diego game and everything else to help me do that. We're glad to have him back. It's Kevin the Panda Baxter. Kev, how you doing, bud?
All right, how are you? Hey, I had a big Sunday. I had some very interesting phone conversations. Talked to Bruce Arena, Dave Sarakin. We'll talk about that in a minute. See, that's called foreshadowing.
Foreshadowing? That's what it is. That's a lead. You're drawing people. See, I think you're starting to get the hang of this podcasting.
I'm learning. But that was not the most famous person I talked to on Sunday. You would think the all-time winningest coach in MLS history, U.S. soccer history, that would be it. But no. Right. Because in the afternoon, I know you saw it and committed to memory my story on Honda building engines for the Indy 500. Okay. But because of that story, the winner of the Indy 500 was a Honda driver, a guy named Alex Palau, the first Spaniard ever to win the Indy 500. And they arranged for him to call me, and I'm like, he's going to call after the Indy 500? I don't really need that, but I'm not going to say no.
Right.
So the publicist was texting me and said, okay, we'll call in a little bit. And then usually when that happens, the publicist says, you know, this is Josh Guesman. I have Alex. He's right here.
Right.
But the phone rang and I picked it up and the guy says, hello.
Yep.
Hello.
Yeah.
How are you? Fine. And then dead. And that's, silence. And then finally goes, this is Alex. This is Alex Palau. This is the winner of the, this is your good, close personal friend, Alex, that you've been waiting to call. So my first question for him is they asked all 33 drivers in the Indy 500 if they won, what kind of milk they wanted. So that was my first question. What milk did you get? He got whole milk.
Whole milk? But you
could get like chocolate milk, 2%, soy milk, whatever you want.
Maybe that's what the Galaxy. Maybe we should ask Galaxy players what kind of milk they would like to drink when they win a game, and maybe that would be something that would change. Right? That could be one of the positives here. I don't know.
How'd you like to be? So you know what? This could be a really good story for next Indy 500. If they're asking 33 different people what kind of milk they want, there is a milk wrangler somewhere there. Somebody who has to watch all 33, because what if the one guy wants soy milk? He can't drink, he had lactose intolerance, right? You can't drink that milk. So you got to make sure you don't screw up the milk.
You have to buy is that a part-time position? Is that a full-time position? Does that person go around sourcing the milk? Like, are the drivers getting, like, somebody wants oat milk? By the way, does anybody drink oat milk, like, not in something? Because it sounds horrible. I've never mind. I don't need to go into that. But no, that's crazy that there's this thing. And watch, you'll find out that there is a milk wrangler, Kevin. And that milk wrangler will be somebody who's been doing it for like 37 years, right? Like they were the first milk wrangler.
Wouldn't it be cool? It's like the best 2% milk comes from some farm in Norway, and he has to fly there and get like a bottle of that 2% milk and then fly back to Indy.
Puts it in a little cooler, puts it in the ice, has to travel. It gets its own airplane seat, the whole deal. No,
yeah, just like the Stanley Cup. Yeah,
that's awesome. No blue milk this time from Star Wars. No, the blue milk from.
Well, we don't know because only the winner.
Only
Everything else, all the other milk was probably destroyed.
Can we find out
Keep
about
it all
like
secret.
Can we find out about like the distribution of milk in terms of, did most people pick whole milk? Did some people want 2% low fat, like the whole deal?
I think this is a great story.
This is a good one.
And I do want to know what happens to the milk of the losers.
Yep. Yeah, exactly.
Can they go get it if they want it?
They have to dump it out in front of them as they watch. So you didn't earn this milk, right? They have to stand there and watch it as it goes down the drain. That's crazy. Really fun. What's you want to talk about stuff that's not so fun? LA Galaxy losing at San Diego 2-1. Kevin, I'm dead serious. Finding new ways to lose.
Well, it's the second time they've lost. Second time in the last 3 games. Game in the middle was a draw.
Right.
Second time in the last 3 games they lost in 4 minutes plus in stoppage time.
Yeah.
Basically at the death both times.
So the idea then is if we're talking, the Galaxy need to make sure that there's no more than 3 minutes of stoppage time if they're trying to hold on to leads and do stuff, right?
No more faking injuries. Just get up and go.
No
more substitutions. Just go.
That's fun. Yeah, I mean it's interesting.
Pass the ball to guys on your team is very helpful in stoppage time.
It's so rare, Kevin, that you can place like the blame for a game on a single play. I can say even on a single person. I know we can certainly talk about Isaiah Parente and his cross that sort of stopped the LA Galaxy from driving in that last minute. But San Diego clears that ball out in hopeful abandon. There is no plan for that ball to be lobbed up to the top to try to be taken by, either Lozano or Dreyer and trying to make that happen. There is no plan for that ball except let's clear this out. Let's get it out of the way. And then, the Galaxy are probably going to come back at us again, but we're going to do it. So, I can certainly understand Greg Vanney looking at Isaiah Parente and what he did in that moment as something that, the Galaxy really want to try not to do. But having said that, watching that ball go up, watching that ball come down and watching Emiro Garces, who I'm dead serious. I thought he was having his best game of the season this year, or best game of this year, 100%. I was like watching him battle with Chucky Lozano, frustrating Lozano the entire game. Lozano was begging for calls from Freeman, by the way. Just a sad state of affairs with fouls in Major League Soccer. I had no idea for most of the game what a foul was, and that was both ways. I was surprised almost every time that Freeman decided to blow the whistle, and then he decided that apparently he didn't want it as physical as he allowed it to be, and so then it was just soft fouls and just little things, that type of thing. But having said that, Lozano was frustrated by Garces, and Garces was on him for most of the night. I think there were a couple times when Lozano got to break free a little bit. We can talk about the goal at the end as one of those times, certainly. But you want to look at a guy who I thought was frustrated for most of the night and who is a centerpiece of that San Diego team. And the LA Galaxy decided that, Emiro Garces was going to lock him down and play some defense and do some things and be physical with him and be able to knock him off the ball. It did a whole bunch of that and everything. And I would love to spend the next 15 minutes talking about how Emiro Garces is this resurgent player who now needs to step up. He's learning. He's making his decisions. You're starting to see some better things from him. The LA Galaxy get 2 draws in a row from 2 very good opponents. We could talk about third in the West, San Diego and all these things. I'd love to talk about all that, but instead we get to talk about Emiro Garces, who Greg Vanney said he sauntered up to the line and the ball, and he goes, and maybe if he got himself in a position, maybe if he was ready and willing to accept that maybe he heads it out and it's not a problem. Instead, as Greg Vanney said, he tries to hit a volley with his off foot. He mishits it, and by the way, one of the best passes into space you're ever going to see. That puts Anders in on the right-hand side, and now everybody's chasing back, and there's some collapse into the middle, and Garces now has to try to move into that, and then, Lozano comes on the backside and heads it in. You bailed Lozano out, you bailed San Diego out, because I thought the Galaxy did a really good job of sitting back, absorbing pressure, taking a lot of that pressure and tossing it aside. I mean, I think San Diego has some good spots, but we can't talk about any of that because we have to talk about how the LA Galaxy found another way to lose.
And Greg Vanney talked afterwards about how it was a hot day. They played in the afternoon, if you remember, and Garces was just exhausted at the end. But Greg said, it's you're into stoppage time. You've only got a few minutes left. You have to sort of suck it up in that thing. And yes, yes, he was tired. Yes, he played a great game. Yes, he put a lot of miles in. But when there's only a minute or 2 left and it's a draw, it's a tie game, and you're protecting that draw, you really can't be tired in that situation. You're not allowed to be tired.
No, you're not allowed to be tired. And listen, maybe some of the blame goes to Greg Vanney. Only made 2 subs on a night when he was talking, or on an afternoon where they're out there, at 1:45. I think the kickoff time, or the kickoff temperature, was like 67 degrees. We all know, certainly from hearing from fans who were there, that it was hot. It was really hot there, especially in the direct sunshine. I mean, that's sort of the thing that I don't think we get enough credit for, and certainly as you move south, it gets even worse, is that the UV index and what happens when the sun is actually shining is intense. And so Greg talked about afternoon game in the sun. We can't just go out there and press. And so we had to be smart. That was Greg Vanney. By the way, Damian was on Thursday night. We had talked about this, Kevin, with Damian, which was... we said, hey, San Diego is going to want to have the ball, and the Galaxy are probably going to let them have the ball. And the Galaxy are going to look to be in transition moments and do things. How did the Galaxy score their goal? Transition moment. Good movement, transition, turn the ball over, make it quick, and do that. Let's talk about the starting lineup real quick, and then I want to talk about the goal, because let's get some positives out of this, because it's pretty disgusting at the end to walk away with no points in this. And we can certainly talk about the mental of the LA Galaxy there. Novak Mitrovic in goal for the LA Galaxy. Surprise, Kevin?
Yes, I thought a big surprise.
Yeah, it felt surprising, right? Like, it felt like, oh, okay. And Greg was like, oh, well, when we have multiple games in a week, I like to rotate guys. And sometimes whenever we go on the East Coast, I like to rotate guys, but we didn't get a chance to, and we didn't approach it that way. And
the reason I thought it was a little bit of a surprise, I get all that. That's good. I don't disagree with any of that. But as you had tweeted out before the game, strongest lineup the Galaxy have had for a while, everyone healthy.
Right.
And I just kind of thought that Greg was going to go, okay, I've got everybody back. This is my first choice lineup. If I could pick 11 guys, who are the 11 guys I want? I think McCarthy wins it over Mikovic. That's why I was a little surprised that you had 10 first choice outfield players, and then you went to, what has been your backup goalkeeper.
Yeah, 100%. And so Mitrovic comes in. Could he have stopped the one goal that they scored before the one in stoppage time? Maybe, but I didn't have any major qualms with Mitrovic. I mean, at this point, I don't know that it matters all that much. Starting lineup, Yamane, Yoshida, Garces, Nelson, Reus is in there, Cerrillo and Sanabria back at the Twin Sixes. Fagundes in there, Joseph Paintsel in there, Gabriel Peck in there as well. Marco Reus playing, I think, a little more forward. Diego Fagundes out to maybe one of the wings and more in the midfield. Sort of seeing sometimes that Reus and Paintsel would almost be a 2-man up top whenever things would start going. I think they were looking for trying to get those quick transitions in and out, and Joseph Paintsel sort of playing again, maybe more as a forward situation. I think Greg talked about springing him on some counters a little bit more. So you had this play out, and I think you had the LA Galaxy who really sat back and decided that absorbing pressure was a good way to go. I never have a problem with that, and I think it's actually one of the strengths of the LA Galaxy is that when you have a team that wants the ball and you're away, to let them have the ball a little bit. And I thought the Galaxy did well absorbing some of that pressure. I think Godoy missed a really big shot in this game that could have, really hurt the LA Galaxy. You look at expected goals, I think it was firmly on the San Diego side, and all that stuff. But I thought that what the Galaxy game plan sort of had in mind was a good game plan in terms of how to do it. And then, you score in the 40th minute. You get Marco Reus to get on the ball. You get the Galaxy into transition quickly. You get the ball over to Diego Fagundes on the left-hand side. All of the patience that you get from Marco Reus, I love, Kevin. All of the patience that you get from Diego Fagundes, I love, because Marco held that ball, made sure that Diego got the ball, and then John Nelson made one of the best runs that will never be on a scorecard that you could see, which was to run around outside Diego Fagundes, moving towards that corner flag, and he drew the defender. The one defender that was in front of Diego Fagundes drew him right out. Diego was able to take a step forward, line up, aim, and score. All in the transition. Marco Reus, sort of feeding that ball and doing some of the good stuff there. That's the kind of stuff that you want to see from the LA Galaxy. And quite honestly, that's the stuff that you want to see in terms of production and scoring first. I mean, you talked about it. The Galaxy have scored first now in the last 3 games. They have 1
and
point.
have 1 point to show for it.
They have 1 point. That's the crazy thing. So the Galaxy have scored first 4 times this year. They have 1 point to show from those 4 times. So 12 points that were on the line in games that they have scored first. And we've talked about how they have not scored first in a lot of games. But in that lineup, the Galaxy score first. You're like, they can get something out of this game. And it would have only been a 2nd point that the Galaxy would have gotten from the San Diego game when scoring first. And it's still pretty disappointing to be in front and then to let teams come back in. But to have 1 point from games you score first, and they're making it really difficult for me to keep that stat alive, which is score first and you have a chance to win games. They've had a chance now 4 times this year. They've gotten a single point from it the entire year. And that's atrocious. That's why you want to know why the LA Galaxy sucks so bad. That's certainly one of the reasons. What do you take from this game, Kevin? And if you're looking, can you even look big picture anymore, or is 15 games winless sort of like, hey, should I be dusting off the shelf for the wooden spoon? I'm not quite sure where we're going with this yet.
Well, especially the way Montreal played against LAFC. I mean, that's the other team competing for the wooden spoon, and they had a pretty good game. I mean, when I look at the Galaxy, it feels like they're getting closer. They're getting closer. It's almost a breakthrough. And you wonder what happens after that breakthrough. And I know we'll talk about Bruce and Dave in a little bit, but both of them said the Galaxy are much better than their record shows. They're a much better team than they played. And they both said they look for them to have a big second half. Things are going to turn around, and they expect them to win a lot of games in the second half. You could almost see that happening, but I don't want to use bad luck because the Galaxy had all the bricks go their way last year, and that's why they won MLS Cup. But the way the game turned in San Diego, it just baffles your mind. And then the Kansas City game, when they don't give up a shot of any kind and they lose, at some point, all those things are supposed to even out, and you wonder if that's going to happen with the Galaxy this year. I mean, I've always heard a lot of coaches say, I don't get worried when we don't score as long as we're shooting and taking a lot of shots. As long as we're playing well, the results will come. And I don't know. I kind of feel like that's where the Galaxy are right now. The last 3 games, I thought they played very well. You could argue in stretches they were much better than the team they played against, but they got 1 point out of that.
At 1 point. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. Gary, by the way, $5 super chat says, does Apple TV have an option where you can play the Benny Hill music over the commentary? If not, they should add it. Gary, you're 100%
That would be
right.
pretty good.
Yeah. Let's see. It's executive producer Herb is in the chat. $18 super chat. Hey, Josh. Hey, Kevin. With the Galaxy finding all kinds of reasons to lose, ref decisions, bad giveaways, turnovers, own goals, etc., how many more losses before Vanney out starts to take force again? I think that's sort of settled for me. I don't think there's any more losses. I know that's going to upset people. I totally understand it, but I mean, I think that the Galaxy have spoken on that for this year. That's my interpretation, at least right now. I don't know. I couldn't expect. We looked at the beginning of this schedule, Kevin. We saw the Sporting Kansas City game, and we were sort of like, okay, that's going to be a really good chance for them to win. And outside of that, going to play New York and then Philadelphia in East Coast time is not a good place to be finding wins in that. And then you have to come home and play LAFC. That's going to be a good game for them to get up for, but that's still a difficult game. So I don't know that there's a win there. And then we started talking, we're saying San Diego, going down to San Diego and trying to play them, top 3 team in the West, that would be difficult to find a win there. So none of this has surprised me, except maybe the Sporting Kansas City game. And again, that was a game that they lost despite the fact that they didn't give up a single shot. So we've been sort of circling this San Jose game as the game the Galaxy have the best chance of winning. That being said, certainly an uphill battle at this point, but I think in a 3-game week with everybody going, I think that this is where it was. We looked at the beginning of this and said it could be 14-15, winless, because where are the wins going to come if it doesn't come in Sporting Kansas City?
Well, and you know what people were saying at the beginning of the season, and Diego Fagundes said this over and over again, is everybody's going to give us their best shot. This is the game that everyone has circled on the calendar. And so when you look around, and you see the Galaxy are winless in 15 games, is anyone feeling sorry for them?
No.
And if you say, the referee decision went against them and they got a bad break, well, last year those breaks went their way, and we didn't hear the Galaxy saying, we got lucky. So you can't really say bad luck. But no, every team has circled the Galaxy on their calendar. The Galaxy beat everybody up badly last year, dominated the league. When you look statistically at some of the things they did, nobody's feeling sorry for them.
Nobody's feeling sorry, but I always fight back against that whole, they're trying to give us. I mean, even when players say it, I almost want to roll my eyes. Do you think anybody's not looking at the LA Galaxy bottom of the bottom of the table. I was going to say bottom of the Western Conference. No, bottom of the table, very last one, and not saying, well, good, this is a good chance for us to get 3 points. Bruce Arena and Dave Sarakin, who I adore to death, both of them, can tell you all the things where we expect the Galaxy to have a strong second half. We know that they're a better team. They can say it. Those guys on San Jose, all the guys, they're looking at the LA Galaxy and licking their lips because they know now, and certainly we've seen it over the last maybe 4 or 5 games, where yes, they can play good. Yes, they can do things that probably should put them in positions to win, but they're so freaking fragile that all we have to do is stomp on them a little bit, and they're going to lose it. Look at the San Diego game. Gabriel Peck. Look at the frustration on that guy for most of that game. I talked about Chucky Lozano being frustrated with Emiro Garces. Gabriel Peck is the epitome of frustration right now. Greg Vanney talked about after the game trying to get him deeper because sometimes he's coming in too shallow, and the shallow puts him into right in front of people who can defend him, and that he needs to drive deeper in order to get there. So the frustration is growing, and it's growing to, it's almost like a cancer. It will spread. It will continue to spread if the LA Galaxy don't eventually get something to go their way. They need a lucky break at this point. They need something to go their way. Is it against San Jose? I don't know, but you can see it growing. Joseph Paintsil frustrated, and that in a game where I thought the Galaxy played well. And I know people just, I see the Reddit threads and all this stuff. Some people need to get a life, but that's okay. That's why we're on here, and that's why we talk. I'm never gonna say, Kevin, that I didn't see positives in something like the game against San Diego, right? And I got blasted on Twitter for saying it. We could have talked about all these positives. Look at Sanabria and Cerrillo and how well I thought they played. Even though I think they're probably at fault for the goal that happens 1 minute after the Galaxy's. That's the LA Galaxy in 2025 to a T there, Kev. Score a goal,
taking a lead and giving it back in a minute.
Yeah, in a minute and 44 seconds, something like that was between the goals.
You talk about the frustration. The frustration is real, and it kind of reminds me, again, I'm going to go back to baseball. I know everyone hates this, but that's the analogy that I come up with. If a guy's striking out every time he's in a big slump and he strikes out every time he's coming up, he's just clueless. He's lost. There's nothing you can do to help him. The Galaxy right now, they were like that. The Galaxy were like that at the beginning of the season. They were the guy taking 3 pitches right down Main Street and just going back to the dugout. Right now, they're the guy hitting line drives, bullets at shortstop and second base, just nailing the ball and not getting anything out of it. And that's way more frustrating than striking out, because you hit the ball in the screws and you didn't get rewarded. The Galaxy, there is that frustration. And I think you can look at guys like Gabriel Peck, because he had such, I don't want to say an easy time last year, but such a successful season last year. And this year, things are not going his way, and the breaks are going against him. And it's I do think it's a little difficult for the Galaxy not to get tied up in that too much of, everyone's out to get us. Look at the referee screwed us again. Well, that call happened last year, and you didn't even notice it because you were so good. Happens this year, and it deflates everybody, and it takes the team down.
Yeah, again, the frustration levels. Go back and just watch. I know it would be painful for Galaxy fans to do so, but go watch the reaction after Lozano scores in the 4th minute of stoppage time, and watch the reaction from the LA Galaxy. Watch, Novak Micevic.
Yamani went, and Mikovic both went down.
Yep, they were all down. Immediately, and everybody was just like, and Maya Yoshida down too. These guys are like, what else can we do? Like, what else do we need to do? And again, good enough for a draw. And I think a draw would have been a fair result in that game. And I am sure, listen, I docked the Galaxy points for scoring first and not being able to hold on to a lead longer than 1 minute and 44 seconds. But go watch that game and watch the battles that took place. That was a physical game from a top 3 team in the Western Conference who's been getting results, right? And has showed that they're a pretty good team this year. I think you and I were talking about it, me too, but we were all wrong about San Diego and how they're playing.
Yeah. I was horribly wrong. I said San Diego was going to be terrible after seeing them in Coachella, and I don't know what changed. I mean, I know they got a couple of players that came in after the Coachella tournament, but the first 2 or 3 games there, they looked horrible. And then remember, they beat the Red Bulls something like 7-1 or something. Yeah. And we talked about how the Red Bulls were getting on the plane, and they weren't really paying much attention. But I think that was the start of San Diego's turnaround. In the preseason, they've played really well. They're a legitimate team. They've had some bizarre games. They've had a couple, I think, scoreless draws already.
Yeah.
But they're a good team.
They can be, and I thought that you were looking at a team that likes to play through the middle, and I thought the LA Galaxy did a good job to push them to the side and not let them play through the middle. Again, this was a battle of wills, like any game is. Trying to watch how the Galaxy set up a game plan, I feel like the game plan was there. I still don't love the two subs, and bringing Christian Ramirez in to sort of put the LA Galaxy in a more comfortable position. Bringing off Sanabria and bringing in Parente a little more attacking. You're trying to get him to break lines. Maybe it was the right call to try to use him against some tired legs in San Diego, because everybody looked like they were getting tired towards the end of that game. And so I don't have a problem with it. But where are the other subs that you sort of want to see? I mean, we can go down the list. There are some guys on here who can help you. Parente got in, Ramirez got in, but Julian Aude could have come in as a defensive guy with legs to play, right? Mauricio Cuevas with legs to run and be able to come back. You could put in Tucker Lepley, who we saw a lot at the beginning of the year. Even Winder being able to be brought into maybe some of the wider positions to sort of settle some things down. It felt like the LA Galaxy were hanging on, and I think that they were, but they also had a chance to win this game, which is pretty crazy whenever you look at Marco Reus and what he's been able to do. The fact that he missed something from inside, the 7 yards out from the goal and didn't hit it and got a rebound and missed it again. I don't know that those things happen very often, but the Galaxy had their chances and they didn't take them, which is, maybe another story of 2025.
Well, you're right on the substitutes. I mean, we were talking, I don't remember if it was the LAFC game or the Philadelphia game, where Nascimento had a pretty good game. He was dangerous. He looked like he was figuring some things out, and then we don't see him again. Lepley and Winder, as you said at the beginning of the season, and maybe it was more in the Champions Cup games more than MLS, but they got a lot of playing time early, and I thought they were pretty impressive at times, and they've sort of been nailed to the bench. We haven't seen much of them at all. Christian Ramirez still is the team's leading goal scorer, and he's having a hard time getting playing time now.
Yeah, we were talking about Marco Reus. Most goal contributions since April 27th. Marco Reus is tied with 7 with Anders Dreyer, who plays for San Diego, and then Ty Baribo, who I think the Galaxy isn't he on Philadelphia? I think he's on Philadelphia.
Yes,
yeah. So Baribo, Dreyer, and Reus, most goal contributions since April 27th. 3 goals, 4 assists in 6 games played, dating back to April 27th for Marco Reus. 5 starts since then, with him playing 90 minutes in 3 straight matches.
Right, and so when you talk about the rotation, I don't see how Reus can go and play 90 minutes against San Jose. He played 90 minutes against 3 times in 8 days.
Is it? Are you worried? And this, I don't have the answers to this. Are you worried that if you play him on Wednesday, you won't be able to play him on Saturday? And I'm sort of in that too. I agree with you. I don't think that he's going to be able to start, but maybe he's feeling good enough that he can. The bottom line is that if Marco Reus doesn't play, this LA Galaxy team's not going to create chances. He has been a world-class, and listen, world-class in a diminished space, right? I understand what I'm saying. I don't want to make it sound like, he's been outstanding. He could do this in any league. In Major League Soccer, he was doing now what the LA Galaxy have needed him to do since the start of the season. The only problem is it's coming at an expense on his legs. The Galaxy haven't been able to get ahead in games to be able to even give him a break. Like, subbing him in the last 20 minutes when you're up by goal is a great thing to have happen if you can make it happen. And the Galaxy have not put themselves in a position to be able to do that. So they can't manage him. They just have to play him. And that's a problem.
I don't think it's a question of whether he plays against San Jose or Real Salt Lake. I think it's a question of 3 times in 8 days is a lot. And if it was hot in San Diego for Californians, it was really hot for a guy from Germany. And he's got the bad knees, we know. They got to be barking. And he's, 107, 108 years old now. I mean, it's going to be – I just think that's a lot of wear and tear. I just think he's got to be running on fumes. Is he maybe the best midfielder to put out there, even tired? Yes. But is he going to be diminished to the point where maybe somebody else would be a little bit better?
And is he good for 60 minutes? Can you start him and have him go 60 minutes and bring somebody in for 30? I mean, this is why you get paid money as a coach to try to figure this stuff out, right? And I don't pretend to know. I do expect that he's going to rest either on Wednesday or on Saturday. I don't think you're going to get him 90 minutes. He even told us last time we talked to him that he goes, I don't remember the last time I played 3 games in 90 minutes and doing all that stuff. So he's putting a lot of minutes on his legs, doing a lot of stuff. And unfortunately for the Galaxy, as he goes, Kevin, that's how the Galaxy are going to go. 100%, there's no doubt about it, because he is that creative force. Even though the pass to Fagundes was an easy one, giving it at the right time, putting it into the right space, allowing, John Nelson the time to get forward a little bit. Marco Reus tends to hold the ball a little longer than people are always used to, especially in these attacking situations. His calmness on the ball is really great. You want that. You want that from him. You want to see it, and you need it from him on the field. We talked about it as one of the reasons why the Galaxy were struggling so much at the beginning of the season. And by the way, it hasn't changed. But with Marco Reus out there, the Galaxy have been scoring goals.
Well, and if you go back to the beginning of the season, we talked about this a lot the last couple of weeks, is Will Kuntz wanted Reus to fill in for Ricky, and that's why he let Mark Delgado go. And when we second-guessed that a lot, we still do. But when you look at what Marco Reus has done in the 3 games that he has started and played 90 minutes, if you look at the goal contribution, 7 since April 27th, as you said, one of the best totals in the league. If you look at the fact that in the 3 games that he played the 90 minutes, the Galaxy led all 3 of them.
Right.
It's not his fault that they gave up that last goal. I mean, He was nowhere to be found. He was involved in that play. So maybe there's something to be said that if they had a healthy Marco Reus, would they be leading the conference? No. Would they have some wins? Probably. Would they be on 15 games without a win? I don't think so. So, maybe he is the player that Will Kuntz said he was going to be, and it's just a little bit too late now.
Yeah, it feels all so late. Somebody said, "Is this season over?" And I said, "Just about." And somebody got mad because I said just about. I'm like, listen, there's still time for the Galaxy to win games. It's just 2 more games. So we'll have by the end of Saturday, right? So playing against San Jose and then Real Salt Lake. Those games being done, the LA Galaxy will have officially reached the halfway point of the season. That's how long, and they have not a single win.
And so what do you do? And this is a serious question. Now, what do you do? Because I think the first thing is you got to get a win. You got to play your best 11 and your best strategy and all that stuff until you get a win. Then once you get a win, what do you do? Because you're not going to probably, unless something happens, you string 5 or 6 dominant performances together and you start to think, hey, maybe we can make the playoffs. But let's just say that doesn't happen.
Right.
When do you start thinking about 2026? And by that, I mean, when do you start Winder? When do you start Lepley? When do you put Fagundes on the bench because, he may be a guy that's not coming back? When maybe do you bench Marco Reus because he may not be coming back? When do you make the change at goalkeeper? Do you start playing for 2026 this year to find out what you have? Or do you play out the string and think maybe 5 or 6 wins turns out to be a good season?
Yeah, it very well could. I mean, I don't know. It's a good question. I think that one is we know that the planning for 2026 is already ongoing, right? We know that in terms of what they're looking for, what they think they need, the Galaxy, that they are openly looking at that stuff. It could mean that a summer move is coming, right? That type of thing could still happen. I think that even though there's no general allocation money, the LA Galaxy and Will Kuntz are more than creative enough to be able to go pull off a move that could land a player. That player is not going to be about 2025. That player is going to be about 2026. Whoever you're bringing in the summertime probably is more about, you want somebody who's clearly going to complement the team in 2025, but you want somebody who is going to be an important piece, or at least a piece that you can use in 2026. Those are going to be the guidelines for that, because it's not. Yeah.
But it's the guys you have on the team already, I think. I mean, I don't know that off the top of my head, off the contact things. My memory seems to be telling me that Fagundes is done at the end of the year. I think John McCarthy is done at the end of the year. Obviously, the goalkeeper situation is unsettled. They're going to have to make a decision. So maybe they play all 3 of their goalkeepers down the stretch and sort of have a reality show kind of thing. Who's going to win? Maybe you play Nascimento more up front rather than Fagundes, because he's going to be the guy who's going to be coming back. That's the kind of stuff I'm talking about. Yeah, they're going to sign a guy. If they sign a DP or some sort of high price player for next year, you bring him in thinking of 2026. But I'm more thinking the guys on the roster. You got to decide who you want and where you want to play them, and the best way to do that is give them some game action and see how they react.
I don't know that there's a whole bunch of things that certainly I would like to see more stuff from Julian Aude, but I've been calling on that for 4 or 5 games now, because realistically, I think Aude is a more attractive offensive option. I'm sure that's why Greg Vanney keeps playing John Nelson, is because he wants a more compact defensive option. Mauricio Cuevas is going to be part of whatever you're going to do next year. If you want to showcase him now, perhaps there's a move for him, but I really think that he's one of those guys who can stick around around. Tucker Lepley, we've seen spurts and bits and pieces of Tucker Lepley. I imagine that's going to be, and this isn't a knock on Tucker or anything else, that seems to be the kind of player he's going to be, is bits and spurts and pieces for Tucker Lepley. I don't know that he's going to suddenly take some giant step forward that's going to change his trajectory in Major League Soccer. Maybe I'm wrong. Would love to be proved wrong, by the way. Really like Tucker Lepley, really like everything about him. Elijah Winder's a guy who, maybe you want to see more of. I think that Greg Vanney and some of those guys are looking at how they can continue to increase Winder and make sure that he has the game minutes that he wants, but they want him to feel comfortable inside the system. And I think Greg Vanney had talked about it before, that he wants to see Elijah Winder more comfortable in the system. So I think that's something, as you progress, maybe you're going to see more Elijah Winder. The big one for me is Nascimento. Nasi is coming in and basically on loan. This is a rent before you buy type of thing. Haven't seen a whole bunch from him. Looking forward to seeing more from Nascimento as this goes down. I think you're going to see more and more of him as it goes. And whether or not he can develop into something that the LA Galaxy think they can develop into more of a player if they're going to buy. But as things are going right now, I don't think Nascimento's coming back unless you're going to give him more playing time. And maybe to your point, maybe he should get more playing time with how the LA Galaxy are going right now.
Yeah, I mean, especially if it's a rent-to-own thing, you got to find out if you want to buy it or not. And you can't tell, he sits on the bench real nice. Let's keep him. You got to get him in there and see how he handles MLS. And it's not even if he's a good player or not. It's MLS is a different animal. You've seen a lot of good players come in from around the world, Europe and South America.
Right.
And either they can't handle the travel or the physical play. MLS, it is a very physical league compared to some other leagues. And there's a lot of wear and tear on the body from the travel and other things. Maybe the Galaxy should do what the Dodgers do. You see the Dodgers now have 2 charter planes.
They have to take 2. They take so many people.
Planes.
Yeah, they have to take so many people.
No, it would have turned out the players get their own plane. And then all the support staff and everybody else gets a second plane. Nice. Which to me, it's just like, we got so much money, we can have 2 planes. It's just absolutely ridiculous. But that's what they're doing. So maybe I don't know, maybe the Galaxy could get, like, everyone gets their own F-16 and they fly themselves. They have a pilot fly them to the games. 24 different planes.
That's cool. F-16 is usually a single seater. There are some trainer versions that have 2 in there.
Well, I'm of course thinking of the trainer ones.
Okay, good. Okay, yeah, sure you are.
Cessna. Take a Cessna.
A Cessna. I can see the LA Galaxy.
You could fly that one. You could fly one of the players.
Yeah. No.
You could fly those.
Most of the players wouldn't fit into some of the planes that I learned how to fly on back in the day. That's
how about a Sopwith Camel?
A Sopwith Camel. Where'd you pull that one out of World War One? You were like, let me figure out a biplane from World War One.
Snoopy flew that.
Oh my. No. Somebody asked, is Nascimento better than he was 3 months ago? And I'll say yes. I have seen some things that actually his last game, I think, against LAFC was one where I was like, man, okay, you're starting to see some stuff. Need to see more. The good news is that unlike fans, the Galaxy get to actually hold Nascimento through this whole season and then decide whether or not they want to keep him, right? Like there's going to come to a point where they're going to have to decide. But you get to sit there and go, okay, is he developing? Is he feeling more comfortable? All these things that you sort of see it. Look at Sanabria. There would be people who are ready to get rid of Lucas Sanabria, and I think he's just starting to figure this league out. Unfortunately, he's on a team that is 15 games winless. I don't know that that's all his fault. He broke his collarbone, not his fault. So he's a little behind the curve for where you would be hopeful to see him. Having said that, I enjoyed his game again against San Diego. I think he and Cerrillo are really starting to develop a partnership. Whenever you put him with, Marco Reus in front of them, it seems like defensively they're okay. They're not great. The goal where that gets scored on is down the middle more than anything, and possibly a Sanabria problem for not coming in back behind and trying to track a runner, trying to get in there to help Cerrillo. Cerrillo already on a yellow card, probably couldn't have taken the slide that he really wanted to. And so for me, I'm like, okay, so I can sit there and I can see some developments that are happening. I can see Sanabria. I think that the Galaxy midfield is getting better. It's still a far cry from where it needs to be, but with Marco Reus in there. But what happens when Marco Reus doesn't play? There's no answer for that. And that's sort of where I think we're going to find ourselves this week, Kevin, is what do you do whenever Marco Reus isn't there? And how does Greg Vanney try to figure this out? Because I think that there were some breakdowns that caused problems in San Diego, and I don't think that the Galaxy defense has fix themselves to the point where they are a cohesive unit. And certainly seeing Emiro Garces boot that ball is a problem for everybody, because eventually it's going to come to the point, Kevin, where guys are going to like not trust him anymore. And I thought he had played that game well enough where guys were going to be like, okay, Garces has finally settled in. The last 10, 12 games of last year, whenever Garces was coming in, he had moved in for Jalen Neal and you started to see some things happening, and all of a sudden the LA Galaxy defense was a lot better than what it was. And that is a defense that is basically all intact. They're all there. And the Galaxy have, allowed 31 goals at this point. Is it 33 goals at this point? I can bring it up. I actually found it, but to me, 34. So even better. So to me, these are the things that you look at the LA Galaxy and you say, how do they fix these problems? Because there's nobody on the bench that's going to fix the defensive issues that are happening right now.
Well, so what do you do with Garces? You just admitted he played probably his best game of the season until the last 2 minutes. So do you throw that out and put Zonka in there and say to Garces, look, the results have consequences.
Yes.
You're going to sit this one out.
Yeah.
Or do you say, look, you had a great game until that last minute, clean that last minute up and we're good to go. You're going to start again. What do you do with that?
By the way, Juan in the chat room says the Galaxy should be regulated to be traveled only by Greyhound bus. That's it. Only by bus.
Ooh.
That's it. Yeah, I know. By the way, they did travel down on a bus for San Diego. I did not find out how many hours that took on a Friday for a holiday weekend, but they were down there.
I bet you they haven't gotten back yet. I bet.
Yeah. So
do you have the schedule thing? Going forward?
The schedule, yes, I do. So this is this
because
week.
Okay, you don't have it after Real Salt Lake.
I have this. I have the next one.
Yeah,
so,
that's what I wanted to go to. So if you go back to the first part of the schedule, they have 2 more games and then they have a 2-week international break.
Right.
And I know we're getting ahead of ourselves, but we talked about the San Jose game is going to be tough. Real Salt Lake's having a good season too. Both games at home. You'd have to think the Galaxy, would be favored in at least one of those 2 games because they are at home. Marco Reus not going to be able to play both of those games, I would guess, even with the 14-day break coming up. But my point was going to be, if somehow they get to that international break and they're 17 games winless,
right,
they've got to sit on that for 2 weeks. I think if you talk to a lot of the Galaxy players, they will tell you that playing 3 games last week and they played really well.
Right.
I think the Galaxy players would probably tell you they liked that.
Really
They liked getting out there. We let that game in Philadelphia get away, but we got LAFC in a couple of days. We can get back out there again.
Right.
I think when things are not going your way, you want to get back out there as soon as you can to fix it. And I think if they get 17 games winless and then they have 2 weeks to sit around and look at that, and every time they look at the standings, there they are with 0 wins.
Right.
Man, that's going to be really tough from a mental perspective, not being able to do anything about it for 2 weeks.
Right. By the way, I want to save you some of the comments you're going to get on social media, which is they played really well. Like, you make sure you put that in Galaxy quotation marks because they haven't won a game in their 15 games. But I'm with you. I know what you're saying. They played good games in those. They didn't win them. They have better than they have. They are again. You're talking
improving.
You're talking about a Philadelphia team that's top in one of the top teams in the Eastern Conference, right? You're talking about a San Diego team that's top 3 in the West. You're talking about an LAFC team that's top 5 in the Western Conference. All of these things
could be in the Club World Cup.
Yep, is going to be in the Club World Cup. These are all the things that you're talking about, and the Galaxy have played these games relatively well despite results. Now, am I tired of hearing myself say that? Yes. I don't know if Greg Vanney is tired of hearing us ask the questions about that, but he should be. At this point, I wouldn't be surprised if Greg Vanney just protests some of the press conference. I don't know what else to ask the guy anymore outside of, how do mistakes like this happen? It was funny. Rob Jalen asked him. He goes, have you ever thought about fining guys if the same mistakes keep happening over and over again? And Greg laughed a little bit. He goes, no. He goes, I never thought of that. He goes, but it's to me, it's always about playing time. And when your playing time is affected, that's what hurts guys, right? Like, he goes, finding them, whatever. He goes, I guess you could. He goes, but playing time is what affects guys. So maybe you're right. Maybe Zonka starts midweek and maybe Emiro Garces has to sit because it's just too, if Greg Vanney does nothing, and he doesn't, if there's no repercussions for Garces, who cost the LA Galaxy, a point, 100%. I'm with it. You can't make an excuse of why he couldn't have. Professional athlete. Remember whenever Mitrovic and Garces combined to allow San Diego to score was it the first or second goal in the very first game? Garces now has allowed San Diego to win 2 games because of his involvement in stupid plays. And everybody was telling me it was Mitrovic's fault that he hit the ball too high and it was too hard for Garces to get to, and then he slips whenever he does. And I said, he's a professional athlete and he has to be able to play with his feet, and that ball is not an impossible one. I give myself a 50-50 chance of bringing it down in that. This now goes on even further with that, which is that Garces should have never put himself in a position to screw that up. And there's no way you can't put that loss on him. You can blame Parente, and I think Greg Vanney's going to, just because of the game state and how he wants to see things played. He's going to have it split between Parente and Garces, but that's an easy play. And so what do you do? If you do nothing about that, Kevin, are the other guys going, oh, I guess you can just screw up and cost us points and it doesn't matter?
Well, I'd like to hear from some players, confidentially, because they're not going to tell us that, like, hey, print this. But what's Greg Vanney like in the locker room? Because when he comes to the press conferences, he's flashed some emotion occasionally and some frustration, but for the most part, it's been like, oh, we were there, right there. I liked what we did. I like this, the flow of the game and the first half and this play. He seems way too positive for a coach of a team that hasn't won a game.
Right.
I'd like to hear a few more F-bombs. I'd like to hear him, like air out his team a little bit more, because that's got to be how he feels. I mean, this is a guy that won 2 MLS Cups. This is a World Cup player.
Right.
This is a guy who's only known success. He hasn't known anything like this ever. And he does come to the press conference, and I get that. The last thing that he wants is a headline in the LA Times saying Vanney rips players. But at the same token, it's getting hard to believe that he's not pulling his hair out.
Doesn't he know that you're usually not there? Like, he doesn't have to worry about that.
In the Daily News, Damien's there all the time.
Damien, yeah. Yes. The SoCal News Group, for sure.
But, I remember Ziggy was like that, too. Ziggy would sometimes come to the press conferences and be like, oh, golly, shucks. But then we heard from players that, what Alex Ferguson, they used to call the hair dryer, where he would just get up in guys' faces and just scream at them and their hair would go back. And that's why it was called the hair dryer. But is Greg Vanney, what's he saying to Garces and Parente in the locker room after the game? All the players in the team saw it. Right. They're probably waiting for him to say something. Is he reading these guys out?
Well, we got to talk to Diego Fagundes afterwards, and that was one of those, I had specifically requested Diego because he scored the goal, and you sort of wanted to sit there and talk to him, and you wanted a veteran's perspective that could tell us what it was like inside the locker room. And his thing was, we got to pick these guys up. He goes, we got to go up to Emmy, and we got to pick him up, because that stuff happens and that's it. But you know what? It's a team thing. It's not one guy. It's not one thing, which is a great team speak. I respect Diego Fagundes for it. This is not a criticism of him in this, except that everybody knows that Emiro Garces screwed that play up. And we can, again, I don't want to leave Isaiah Parente off, and I think we talked about it, but I'll say it again. Greg criticized Parente for the cross. He put a left-footed ball across trying to find Peck, I think. It was a bad decision because you're trying to play against everything. Instead, Vanney wanted everything to go deeper into the zone, because you need to get as deep into that zone as you can in this position when time is running out, when the clock is out. Get deep in the zone and then try to create from deep inside the offensive zone. If the ball is in front of the other team's net, you're in a good spot right now. They're not going to score from there. Right. And so that's the idea, is to put that ball deeper and then try to create chances to possibly steal and win the game. Almost worked for him whenever Reus was almost able to score in that same sort of position. But Parente hits that ball and then the ball gets turned over. Now, San Diego, again, with almost no clear idea of what they were trying to do, Kevin, they launched a just Hail Mary, like, let me just kick this ball out and get it up there as far as I can. Garces has to handle it. So we know, and the fans know, and the players know, and Greg Vanney knows that Emiro Garces was at fault in this game. And this is not the first time that he has been in fault for games that have lost points. That's sort of the nature of being a professional. John over here in the chat room actually said, but what will Zonka provide to the future of the LA Galaxy? Is it so imperative that you play Emiro Garces that you can just let the whole thing? Is it just a mistake and the kid feels really bad and he went in front of everybody and apologized, and you know that he's going to try better? Like, has he learned his lesson? That you have to do something for the team. You have to show that whenever you saunter, Greg Vanney's words, saunter up to the ball, that you're not in a headspace to be successful. And if that's how he's going to play, and we've seen his ability to do that, again, after a really good game, this really good game against Chucky Lozano, really good. Go back and watch all the defensive battles that he and Lozano get into. They're outstanding. It was fun to watch. I enjoyed just that battle going on. But if you're doing that stuff, right, then, and he makes a mistake that big for a team that is on the precipice of having a mental breakdown because you can't keep losing games and expect everything to be hunky-dory. I'm on board with what you said. And you do nothing, then what happens?
Well, and he's going to be counted on if he plays, and we don't know. Zonka could very well start. Whoever plays that position is going to be counted on to do the same thing to Arango. To Arango in this game, he's third in the league in goals. Is he going
to play? Is he going to play? Because I saw that he was injured, and I don't think he played in the Houston game. So I was sort of interested.
Well, if it's not him, then we got Josef Martinez.
Yes,
so there's some dangerous player that someone's going to have to mark, as they did with Chucky Lozano.
Right.
Obviously Greg Vanney knows his players way better than we ever will.
Right.
And it could be one of those things too. There are some players, and I don't know if Garces is one of them, where you criticize them and they fold like a cheap suit, and they're done. That and then there's other players that you ride them and they get better.
Mm-hmm.
And Greg Vanney knows who those people are. So, as I was reading the comments, and I was reading, that he was very critical of the cross, but almost sounded like he was letting Garces kind of go a little bit, forgiving him. That was my first thought. Greg knows that the one guy can be pushed and prodded and criticized, and he's going to push back. And other guys, you can't say anything negative to them because then you lose them completely. That doesn't mean you don't bench them, but that just means that you have to be careful the way you handle them. And Greg knows his players better than we do.
Yeah, he does. By the way, Crazy Brain has two different super chats here. Who does Ricky replace whenever he comes back in, and can we win Campeones Cup? Remember, the Galaxy still have to play in that. Is this going to be like one of those the winner of Liga MX and the winner of MLS Cup get to play in September, I believe.
Yeah.
And go at it there, and the Galaxy are still going to be winless at that time. I don't know. I sort of trying to figure it out.
What if they were, and then they win a cup in the midst of all this? The worst team or one of the worst teams, I think it is the worst team in MLS history, was DC United. I think in 2015.
Right.
And they won the Open Cup, and I think they won 3 MLS games this year. So there's a precedent for that. Maybe the Galaxy are sitting back and biding time, and sort of marshaling their energy for that Campeones Cup.
Another one for Crazy. Someone asked Marco about Mueller and whether at the press conference he's coming to LA. From what I heard, and it was in German, so please, the only thing I have with German is that it's the same syntax as English. So as long as you can understand the words, you can understand how they go together in that. And basically, he said that he has had recent contact with him. I imagine that Marco Reus is smart enough to not tell anybody what that contact was about or how that was going. So I don't think he's coming to LA. Also, Cristiano Ronaldo not coming to LA. Can we kill that now? We've already killed it last year and then earlier this year whenever it popped up, and we can do it again. I'm happy to kill that rumor anytime anybody's ready to.
Well, I saw a thing on Twitter. Pele's coming. He's been dead for a while, so you can't believe what you read on Twitter. But don't the Galaxy also have Leagues Cup?
They have Leagues Cup. That was I think Mr. Provino was actually saying that the double is coming for the LA Galaxy. They're going to win Leagues Cup and the Wooden Spoon at the same time, and that'll be their double trophies. But he forgot about Campeones Cup. Galaxy could triple it right up. Wooden Spoon, Campeones Cup, and Leagues Cup. Walk away with the trophy. And apparently, if you win Leagues Cup, I think you just get invited to the Club World Cup because I'm pretty sure that's what everybody's trying to do, right?
Well, it would be so interesting. I mean, and you can foresee the possibility of this happening, that the Galaxy win one or both of those competitions at a time when they win the Wooden Spoon. You could win Campeones Cup, Leagues Cup, and the Wooden Spoon all in the same season.
Somebody was asking me. It was down at the train club, and let me just tell you, soccer guys, like real hardcore sports guys, I guess some would call somebody who's had a podcast for 17 years covering the LA Galaxy, real hardcore sort of sports guys and train guys, really not the same audience. Like the Venn diagram on that is like, there's two guys who are also like, oh, I like soccer, and like that type of thing. And somebody said, hey, has the Galaxy still not won a game? So I was really interested that they were actually paying attention enough to realize that the Galaxy still haven't won a game and all that. And they asked me, they're like, well, do you like, whenever you're covering this year, what do you see from it? And it was funny because I was like, oh man, I go, it's crazy these years. And because it's so crazy, it's super interesting to cover. Kevin, I've never seen anything like this. I can't tell you what I'm watching. I can certainly keep telling you that my eyes tell me that the team isn't as bad as the record, but it would be really hard to be as bad as this record. Let's be very clear.
You know, you're right, and I've never seen anything like this either. But what makes it so compelling, interesting, and whatever word you want to use, is the fact they were so good last year. Now, if they had did this in 2018, remember 2017,
yes.
horrible year, 8 wins, they were just fired the coach, and it was terrible. If they had come back and done that in 2018, it would be like, yeah, what else is new? But they have gone from the penthouse to the basement. I mean, I'm surprised some of these players didn't get the bends they've dropped so fast so far.
It is quite it's the whiplash, right? By the way, interesting in terms of like morbid interesting, like it's a car crash on the freeway you're going to slow down and look
exactly.
at. Yeah, it's one of those. So anyway, really interesting on that. That's the LA Galaxy in terms of San Diego and everything else. I mean, I would like to point out, if you're just fun for the morbid curiosity of what the LA Galaxy, I had to adjust my win list chart, Kevin, to actually go up to 15 because it used to stop at 14. So I just like everybody to see that really large bar on the right-hand side. Something that, by the way, will never go away. That is a stain right there on the LA Galaxy for as long as it can be. I still think that San Jose is going to be their game, but we will see whenever that actually happens, because I've thought Orlando was their game, and I thought Philadelphia was their game, and I thought, maybe going up against San Diego might be their game. Maybe scoring against LAFC was the time for them to get their game. I've been fooled many times this year. Maybe Sporting Kansas City was their game. So certainly looking at it, Eastern Conference, as everything stands, it is the Philadelphia Union, the ones the LA Galaxy just played, sitting top of the Eastern Conference at 30 points. FC Cincinnati, who fell to Atlanta on Sunday Night Soccer, if you watch any of that, at 29 points right now. It is Atlanta United in 12th spot that just beat that number 2 team, FC Cincinnati there, where FC Cincinnati was looking to reclaim that top spot. It is Vancouver with 31 points at the top of the Western Conference. San Diego now up into the 2nd spot in the Western Conference, just in front of Minnesota. LAFC now up to the 4th spot. Then it's Seattle, Portland, Colorado, San Jose, and Austin. Austin at 19, Galaxy 15 points behind Austin. So all you have to do is win 5 games and have Austin lose 5 games, and then everybody in between also lose those 5 games, and you could just be back. It would be physically impossible for that to happen, but it's certainly one to watch. We've talked about the schedule already and where the LA Galaxy are headed. Just in case you wanted to see where the LA Galaxy are through 15 games, 4 points is 5 points less than their worst ever, which was 2006, 9 points there. 1997 had 10 points, which is hard to do whenever all you had was wins and losses in 1997. So the LA Galaxy 6 points behind that and 5 points behind 2006. If you're looking, they're mere. And I say this because this is actually was shocking to me. Just 8 points behind 2023. So not trailing 2023 all that long there, Kevin. But a similar season in terms of injuries and everything else that we've seen to 2023 and 2025. So maybe not too surprising. They're only 8 points behind that one. Yeah.
Can we talk about Bruce and Dave for a second, since we
promoted
them?
Yeah, absolutely. That's where I wanted to get to right now.
Okay.
The LA Galaxy taking on San Jose Earthquakes, 7 p.m., 7:10 p.m. is your kickoff time. MLS Season Pass, it is on Apple TV+, FS1, and Fox Deportes as well. This is the return of Bruce Arena and Dave Sarakin to Dignity Health Sports Park and all the fun that comes with that. San Jose coming off of a 3-3 draw.
But what a wild game!
It just absolutely nuts. If you go back, this is Houston being up 2-0 in the 50th minute, and then San Jose scoring via Preston
unanswered goals.
Yeah, via Preston Judd. We should point out 3 unanswered goals to go up 3-2, and then they lost the win and walked away with a draw in the first minute of stoppage time whenever Houston was able to put that in. So a crazy game, but always interesting to see Bruce Arena and Dave Sarakin coming back to the LA Galaxy. Dave Romney, Preston Judd. There's some other names on there that are also LA Galaxy affiliated. So Kevin, you got to talk to Bruce himself. How was Bruce?
And you speaking of Dave, he leads the team in minutes played. He's only missed 1 game this season. He sat out a game. He was on the bench but didn't play. That's totally Bruce Arena. If you remember when Bruce was here, he brought in guys like Mike McGee and guys that he had in other places and really relied on those players. And that's Dave Romney in San Jose. Bruce is just riding him. He's his guy. And so he, leads the team in minutes played and is playing really well. But when I talked to first of all, I didn't realize this. I did a little bit of research, and Dave and Bruce are probably the best, most successful coaching duo in Major League Soccer and U.S. soccer history. They led the U.S. as a team. They took the U.S. to the quarterfinals of the 2002 World Cup. In the modern era, that's the farthest U.S. has ever gone. With the Galaxy, they won 3 MLS Cups in 4 years. They won 2 Supporter Shields in 5 years. Actually, no, they won those 2 Supporter Shields back to back, right? 2010 and 2011.
2010, 2011, yes.
Yeah, so two Supporter Shields, 3 MLS Cups in 5 years. They have not been on the sideline. Remember, Bruce came back with New England, and Dave's been around. His son coached at Colorado, and he's been around. They have not been together on the sideline at Dignity Health Sports Park since the 2016 playoffs against Colorado. The Galaxy won that game. Then they went to Colorado and lost in penalty kicks and were eliminated. That's the last time that they coached together at Dignity Health Sports Park. So I talked to both of them. They're both looking forward to coming back. Both looking forward to seeing some old friends like Raul and others, season ticket holders they talked about. They both said they had just really fond memories. It ended poorly for both of them here, especially Dave. Some things the Galaxy did unwarranted in my opinion. But in any case, I thought maybe they might feel a little bitter. Neither one does. They're both looking forward to coming back. But one thing they did say about the game is they both said, and they separate interviews, they both said the Galaxy are way better than their record shows. They both said we expect them to have a really good second half to the season. And both of them talked about how challenging and difficult this game will be for San Jose, because nobody wants to be the first team to lose to the Galaxy. Nobody wants that headline, Galaxy end losing, winless streak against Earthquakes. Dave even said, I really hope the Galaxy have a good season. I just hope it starts after they fall into 0-12 and 4.
Right.
We want them to lose one more time. And they did talk about how this is, Dave tried to sort of revive the Cali Classico. I think that train's left the station. Talked about how it was a big rivalry game. I don't think it is. I think LAFC is the rival in San Diego now, especially given what happened in the stands down there.
Yep.
San Diego now is the number 2 rival. San Jose is sort of an afterthought of anything. But they both talked about how this is a game that as you said, maybe San Jose is looking at the standings and saying this should be an easy one for us. Both the coaches said, no, this is a really good Galaxy team. They're going to hurt you. We do not want to be the team that winds up getting them off the schneid. And they expect this will be a very difficult game for them.
Yeah.
Sort of what's that term you always use for a game that a trap game? This is like the opposite of a trap game. Something you think will be easy, but it won't be.
Yeah, I mean, this again. You look at the LA Galaxy, and I think that there's blood in the water there for San Jose, and looking at they again, Joseph Martinez, Espinosa, really good, and again Chicho Arango injured right now. Costa. Ian Harks is in there. Jones. Let's see, Romney's back there. You can certainly see their defense has been their problem for me, Kevin, and you can sort of see it. I would like to point out that in the game where they allowed 3 goals, their goalkeeper did not make a save. So there were 3 shots on goal. All 3 of them went in the back of the net for Houston. And so the goalkeeping position, certainly one of those places where I think that they wish that they were a little bit better, but also that starts with the defensive side of things too. So as we watch this LA Galaxy team on Wednesday night, 7 p.m., which I thought I was going to, Kevin, if I can vent for just a second. I thought I was going to this game on Wednesday night. I had RSVP'd. I had received, acknowledgement that I was in, and so I was all good. And then my wife goes, "Oh, so remember that we have open house on Wednesday night at my kid's new school or whatever, right?" And I was like, "Yep, it would be. This is the season that like something like that would get in the way. The Galaxy, this whole schedule this year has just been fluky and funky." And I'm like, "Yep, this would be the time." And by the way, it's the open house that he's going to. So like the school that he's going to. It doesn't matter if he likes it or not. He's still going. I don't know why. We're not there yet.
If the Galaxy win, then that proves beyond a shadow of a doubt that you're the bad luck charm. Do you go to any more games, or is that it?
I'll tell you that I will be there on Saturday whenever they play. So yes, I mean, 100%.
So if they win over San Jose and lose to Real Salt Lake, that will be clear evidence that you're the problem.
The Galaxy will probably pull my press credential if they win whenever I'm not there, right? I mean, I by the way, wouldn't blame them for it. You got to stick with the streak, respect the streak, right? You have to respect the streak. So, no, so I just thought it was really, really interesting just to sort of put that in. The schedule has been horrendous. By the way, Galaxy have played 9 games on the road, 6 games at home. They played 2 games for the first time in a row at home this season. the schedule's not been kind to the Galaxy. We can talk about whether that it was. I think it was exceptionally kind to the Galaxy last year, and one of the reasons that they were probably so successful in the way that they were. It has been the opposite of that this year, having to play New York and then Philadelphia, and as their East Coast swing, having to play LAFC as the third game in that week, right? Having to then go down and play San Diego, another rivalry, having to play San Jose right after that, in midweek, having to play ours. It seems like this is one after another after another. They're tough games, toughly scheduled. Why should they have to play San Diego at 1:45 p.m.? Why shouldn't they play San Diego at 7 o'clock on a Saturday night? Instead, it's a 1:45 p.m. game, right? Like, there's just been stupid timing and stupid scheduling with stuff, and it has not benefited the Galaxy even like one iota. That being said, 2 games at home this week. First time that happens. This whole season. So, Greg Vanney, I think, was telling the broadcast that he expected to get 6 or 7 points out of this week, right? Well, now you better get 6 and get 2 wins out of the next 2 games. And that's difficult for a team that let me just check one more time. Let me bring up the thing. Yep. Still winless in 15 games. I just wanted to check to see whether that had happened. So, really interesting for me to watch how this week progresses. And if finally the travel from San Jose coming down, they had a tough game that lasted a long time for them on a Saturday night. Maybe the schedule finally turns in the Galaxy's favor in the next 2 games. Maybe that works. I don't know. It feels like a long stretch here, Kevin, for all that we sort of look at. You're looking at a San Jose team that's at least unbeaten in the last 5, right? And that's a win over Colorado, a draw with Miami, 3-3, right? 0-0 draw against New England. 1-0 win over the Timbers and a 3-3 draw against Houston. So
and that Miami game was very interesting. I don't know if you saw the aftermath of that, where Lionel Messi went after the referee, and Bruce Arena was the one that stepped in and prevented Lionel Messi from getting a red card.
Yeah.
I don't know if he got a bonus from the league for that, or from Apple, or anything, but
Bruce is always looking out for everybody, even me. John Guesman. Did you tell him John Guesman said hi? He'd probably remember.
No, I did.
QM Brew, $2 super chat. Any updates on the live show? Still working on it. I apologize. This month has, and I said it before, I thought it was a really stupid month to try to have a live show in when there were 7 games in the month. So we'll keep working on that, and I will let you guys know. So working on Mr. Provino, $5 super chat. Over under 15 points for the season. Under 15 points. That would be 9 more points. For the it'd be 10. It would be 11 more points because they have 14. Sorry, I can do math. Over. You're taking the over. They're gonna have more than 15 points.
I'm taking the over. Yeah,
okay.
I'm taking the over.
I think it's a good push number. I think 15 was probably a pretty good grab. Like 15, 16, 17 points. That's 5 wins for the Galaxy. Just straight up 5 wins, right? I'll take the over as well. You're not going to find me to pick them to win. Like, if you're going to ask me if they're going to beat San Jose, the answer will be no, because I will not pick them to win until they win a game. Just not going to happen. So,
well, see, 15. I mean, I think they get, if you want to do the math, 3 draws is 6, and then 3 wins in what, 18 games. I think they can do that. I think they can get 6 results in 18 games.
Hold on, let me check to see what the rest of the games this year. Nope, still 15 games winless. I just wanted to check. I wanted to see how it was going on. I don't blame you for saying that, Kevin. I don't think that there's any reason not to be somewhat.
I have confidence in this team.
You're the only one. I mean, 100%. It's in this weird spot. I have said, and now ad nauseum, that I feel like they play better than their results. But that doesn't mean anything right now.
Bruce and Dave said the same thing.
They were just being nice.
Tell John Guesman.
Privately, I'm sure they're going to get in contact with me and say, those guys suck. We can't wait to beat up on them. I'm sure Dave Romney's licking his chops, ready and rocking and rolling. I think is he having another kid? Did I see that somewhere? I think he might be. I don't want to say that. Somebody go on his Instagram and check. But Dave Romney coming back, and always good to see Romney back back to Dignity Health Sports Park. So that'll be fun. Interesting time. So Wednesday night game, LA Galaxy taking on the San Jose Earthquakes. We circled this one at the beginning of the month, Kevin, as the next best chance after the Sporting Kansas City game to be a win for the LA Galaxy. This was the good chance. All right, so
for all of those of you who don't have back to school night,
yes, you get to
back to school night. It's May, isn't it? The end of school.
It's an open house. They're having an open house, so it's supposed to be for the kids who are at that school to show you what they have done. But they also invite the parents to the kids who are going into the school to be like, "Hey, come check out our cool thing." And I'm like, "It's none of my kids' stuff. He's going to this school." I'm still secretly hoping, and let's keep our voices down when we mention this, and my wife is like, "You know what? Just go to the game. I got this. I got this covered. Not going to happen. But it just, if one is, I honestly think I would still say no, because it would put me in such a disadvantageous, like a horrible.
Oh, you'll never hear the end of it.
Oh,
Yeah, your kid graduates like with honors from Harvard, and
Yes.
you're gonna hear. Remember that time we didn't go to the open house?
Yeah, I'm glad I was here. Like, yeah, are you sure you want to go to his graduation at Harvard? You know,
Sure you don't have a game?
Sure you don't have a game? So yeah, 100%. We'll certainly see how that goes. Final closing horrible scenes after the game in San Diego. I know we sort of brushed over it here. You know,
I will never understand this. I have never felt passionate enough about anything, and perhaps my kid and my wife, to actually physically assault another person. I mean, your team sucks. Oh, I'm going to beat you up. I just don't get it. Someone explain it to me.
I'm similar to you, and again, I think it's our position of where we watch games from and everything else that we do that sort of understands that. I'll say this: security failed. They failed whenever LAFC went down there, and they failed again whenever the LA Galaxy went down there. You know, it's a first-year team making first-year mistakes, and I would believe that, except that I know a lot of those people who work at that team have been there before at other teams. And so, to me, you can't keep making these security mistakes like they continue to do, because you got to keep, you know, I know it's a great song, but keep them separated. You have to keep people separated. You have to have zones around stuff.
It happened once at LAFC, and so then you say, oh, we didn't have enough security. That never happens again, okay? If you have admitted that people got hurt because you didn't have enough security, then you make sure that you have enough security. And you and I were talking before the show. To me, some of this harkens back to people looking at hooligans back in the day in Europe, and they say, oh, proper soccer fans are hooligans, and you've got to, if we want to be proper soccer fans, we have to do that too. Guess what? It doesn't happen like that in England or Germany, or not even in parts of Italy like that anymore. That era has passed. And besides, it was a whole different thing. A lot of that stuff was passed down from your father and grandfather. San Diego's a first-year team. What culture are you defending if you're San Diego?
Yeah.
And so I just don't understand. It doesn't have to be that way, and it only hurts the sport, because you look at that. You want to take your your daughter and your young son to the game next time, and maybe have them get caught in the middle of that.
No, I saw in one video, I saw a male member of one group hitting a female member of another group, and while this female member was already down on the ground. And I can't comprehend any of that. And by the way, if you did that to my wife or my girlfriend or my kid or something like that, yeah, Kevin, then you and I are on I can understand it, right? You know, the whole deal. So I don't blame people who would retaliate for that. And the bottom line is you have to keep those fan groups separated. You have to understand that they're looking for reasons, looking for ways to do this. And so a complete failure. And the Galaxy can put out a joint statement with San Diego, and they can do all that stuff that they want to do, but it needs to be better from everybody. And you know, if you're the LA Galaxy, are you going to start sending down Galaxy supporters with their own, you know, security if you're going down to San Diego? Like, how do you even do that? It's ridiculous. It needs to stop. And it feels more like play acting and play fighting than you know, this is like a live action role playing than it being real true.
That's what it is. And and the other thing that's interesting that happened after the game, and I think about the two incidents at Dodger Stadium. Remember Brian Stowe, the firefighter from San Francisco, who had his life changed when he was beaten after a game at Dodger Stadium. And again, it's after the game.
Yeah.
So how does that happen? Does some guy come up and say, my team, I don't know any of the players on the team, I've never met any of them, but I have a jersey, so I like them, and my team is better than your team, and you don't know anyone in your team? I mean, what's the personal thing that you get to some point where you say, because of this, I'm going to end your life and make you a paraplegic?
Yeah, it can go bad real fast. So I hope everybody was safe. I hope everybody escaped unscathed. I certainly saw the swings, and I'm sure suspensions and everything else are going to be coming and doing that. But if you are San Diego, one, you have to do better. And if you're the LA Galaxy in terms of helping to protect people, then you have to do better. I 100% believe it.
Did we hear anything? Maybe we missed it. I didn't hear anything about the Trafico. Was there any altercations or any? There must have been something.
Yeah, there was smaller stuff. I saw one or two little things, but I don't think there was anything on a massive scale. So
and because remember when that rivalry first started, and,
right.
and this maybe goes back to San Diego being a first-year team and trying to flex their muscles. I don't know, but it was really ugly between the Galaxy and LAFC there and at Dignity Health Sports Park, and there was extra police and all kinds of stuff, and it still got out of control. that seems to have cleared itself up. And kudos to the fans who have helped in that. It doesn't seem to be, and anyone that got hurt or if was involved in anything, I understand that's a horrible thing, but the large scale melees seem to have dissipated, and that's credit to the fans, because I just don't understand why it has to be that way.
Yeah, it's you don't need to learn this again. We've seen it before. This is just not taking the correct and appropriate responsibility whenever you have people in the stands like that. I just don't understand it. So anyway, let's hopefully everything ends on a better note. San Jose coming to town on Saturday, on Wednesday, and then Real Salt Lake on Saturday night. So LA Galaxy 7 p.m. against San Jose Earthquakes, 7:10 p.m. Interesting that on Wednesday night you're going to play a 7 o'clock game. Usually those are 7:30 games, but 7 o'clock it will be, and 7:10 p.m. is going to be your kickoff. So expect a late arriving crowd because everybody's going to be stuck in traffic. That's all my my warnings to everybody. Anything else, Kevin, you want to get to?
Everyone will be at the open house, so I think it could be a small crowd.
Everybody's going to come help me out at the open house. Yeah, you're not wrong. Don't look for me, but if you see me there, then I have somehow escaped the surly bonds of the open house. So.
Does Bruce and Dave? They've been back before with New England. This is not their first rodeo in returning. And in fact, I talked to Bruce about that. He's coached at like 7 teams. Like, you go back to somewhere you've coached every other week. This is not a big deal for you. And he said, well, the Galaxy is. Do they get a warm reception? And again, Bruce has been back before, but it's with Davies, with Romney. Do they get a warm reception, or is it have people forgotten because it's been 9 years now?
I think they get I think you get a warm reception. There's people who know. So yeah, for me, they get a warm reception, especially being in the Western Conference now. I think that's kind of a little step up from, the one time New England might have showed up, in the 4 years that Bruce Arena was there, 5 years he was there, right? So we'll see how that goes. All right, Bruce and Dave have an open house too. That's what somebody said. They probably have it. They're probably gonna they're like, we're gonna go help our friend John Guesman down there at the open house, and everybody will show up. So that's where we're at. All right. Let's see. If you are looking for Mr. Kevin Baxter on all the social medias,
why would you?
Nobody knows. Nobody has it. For all those awesome, for your best friend Alex who won the Indy 500. That's why.
Yes, yeah, he listens.
Yeah.
Hey, Alex.
Yeah, 100%. If you're looking for him, it's at KBaxter11 on all the social media, and then head on over to LATimes.com for all of his coverage, covering all the different sports, including all the different milks that you could possibly have if you are an Indy.
Good story next year.
Great stuff. Go find that milkman. Is it a milkman or a milkmaid? And can you call him
milk wrangler? Yeah.
Yeah, milk wrangler. That's right. All right. If you're looking for me on any of the socials, at Galaxy Podcast, cornerofthegalaxy.com. Of course, head on over to YouTube, Spotify, SoundCloud, any of those places where you can find podcasts, you can find Corner of the Galaxy. All right, for for the LA Galaxy going up against San Jose on Wednesday night, for Mr. Kevin Panda Baxter, I'm Josh Pato Guesman. You've been listening, you've been watching to Corner of the Galaxy from the box on cornerofthegalaxy.com. Have a great one, everybody.
You've been listening to the Corner of the Galaxy podcast on cornerofthegalaxy.com. You can follow the show on Twitter and Instagram at Galaxy Podcast. And be sure to check out and subscribe to iTunes, Stitcher, and Facebook by searching for Corner of the Galaxy. Fans, we thank you for listening, and we ask that you be kind and courteous to your neighbors as you leave the podcast. We thank you for joining us and look forward to seeing you again. Until then, I'm Michael Araujo, and on behalf of the entire Corner of the Galaxy crew, goodbye.